So, this is a question that's always kind of bugged me. Imagine Darkstalker under Jade Mountain. At some point, he wakes up. For Darkstalker, he realized moments ago that Clearsight had betrayed him, that Fathom had used his magic against him. Now, he's waking up surrounded by stone and unable to move. He has no way of knowing how long it's been. He has no idea where his friends and family are. He has no way of knowing where he is. How long did it take him to piece together what happened, using the thoughts of whatever dragons came close enough? Do you think he wondered how long it took for another mind-reading Nightwing to come close? How long did he wait? I bet he was bored. Anyways, welcome back to another WHATSIFACE. Today I want to talk about Clearsight and her choice to leave Darkstalker buried underneath a mountain. I think there's a lot that goes into it, and in the rush of the climax of Darkstalker Legends, I sometimes forget to worry about it. So first off, I just want to say that Clearsight's no idiot. Maybe she didn't have time to think her entire plan through when she did it, but she must have realized that even though she wasn't killing Darkstalker outright, she was still basically letting it happen. I mean, Darkstalker made himself invincible. Unkillable. As we saw later, it took Kinkajou tricking him into fundamentally changing himself, giving himself amnesia, to stop him. Darkstalker's story, his concept, is so riveting to me. His book is still my favorite in the series because of how intriguing it is. Darkstalker was invincible. Clearsight had to come up with a workaround. This begs a few questions. If Clearsight had the ability to, would she have killed Darkstalker? I don't think so. Clearsight loved Darkstalker, and despite her devotion to and obsession with protecting the future, I'm not sure she would be able to actually go through with it. So in a way, it worked out in her favor. If she hadn't been forced to come up with a pseudo-workaround, Darkstalker might have gotten away with it. But at some point, she must have realized that even if she didn't do the deed, she still sentenced him to death, or something worse. Because how did she expect it to play out? Darkstalker was immortal. Would he have been cursed to stay there forever, until the world ended? Asleep, perhaps, but trapped in an endless stasis. Her guilt must have been crippling. I think Clearsight's character is often passed over, especially after she was portrayed as a sort of goddess in the third arc. However, to me, she is a deeply flawed dragon, and I've always perceived her as a more traumatized and more unstable dragonette than Darkstalker himself. So what do I mean by this? I don't mean that I think she could have gone evil. Far from it. Clearsight, thanks to her powers, is characterized by suffering from the feeling of being the only one able to protect her tribe from a very young age. Thanks to her visions, she grew up feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders. We saw in the book that she displayed signs of anxiety. Very few, if any, of her friends, family, or peers validated her or tried to help her. Now, I'm not trying to say she's a blameless victim. Darkstalker definitely tried to get her to back down. Clearsight refused to stop and obsessively took on more responsibilities. However, I think this is one of the ways her issues make themselves apparent. Clearsight feels like because she can do something, she must. And to an extent, this is true. If you're sitting on a bench at a park and you see a kid about to hit a wasp nest with a stick, you ought to warn him away. Clearsight, however, takes this to an entirely different level. She sacrifices herself entirely in a bid to help her tribe. And even after Darkstalker, when she flees the continent as a whole, she turns around and does the exact same thing on Pentala. I think this is just something ingrained into Clearsight, a fatal flaw. Given time, she might have been able to mitigate it, to learn how to put up boundaries, and to learn that you can't save everyone. However, to get back to the topic of Darkstalker, this was another situation where, once again, Clearsight felt it was her responsibility and hers alone, and that no one would be able to help her. Darkstalker was her friend, her partner, and he went off the rails. At the same time, she was a powerful seer, and she had given herself the task of watching out for her entire tribe. Of course, she felt like he was her problem. And so in that flurry of sleepless panic and heartbreak, Clearsight comes up with the only thing she can and puts the problem off. This is Clearsight's coping mechanism. She puts things off and doesn't think about them. Now, this might seem like a direct contrast to her obsessive compulsion to write down futures and keep track of hundreds of minute details. However, that's for other dragons. When it comes to herself, Clearsight is lost. She never developed the skills to take care of herself mentally when she was young. When other dragonettes were learning how to make friends, what was acceptable in relationships, and how to find a measure of balance in their lives, Clearsight was busy trying to take care of literally everyone else. So when it comes to her own personal issues, all she knows how to do is continue to put things off until she can sometimes find the time to deal with it. This is how she is able to walk away from what she did to Darkstalker, at least at first. She doesn't think about it, she puts it to the back of her mind. Clearsight does it again when she leaves for Pantala. She's running from her problems and hoping she can find a sense of stability by helping everyone around her, because no one ever helped her learn how to help herself. Clearsight to me is a struggling dragonette. Everything is thrust on her too fast, and she has no concept of boundaries or personal limits. She's the gifted child who burnt out too quickly. Not to mention how hard it must have been on her with the emotional drama of having someone like Darkstalker who had his own issues as well as a boyfriend. Clearsight, as I said at the beginning of the video, isn't stupid. She had to have guessed that he'd be there forever. At best, her habit of putting off her personal problems had spilled over into the rest of her life. At worst, she had doomed Darkstalker. Darkstalker seemed like he was past saving, and Clearsight did the only thing that she could think of. She put off the problem. But of course, that also makes me ask, did she know? Did she ever guess that Darkstalker would wake up? In the moment, I'm sure she wasn't thinking about it. But later, when she was in Pantala doing her best to help them with her visions, the same way she tried to help her own tribe, I just wonder if Clearsight ever thought about it. If she realized she might have just made him someone else's problem, and accepted that. Now, I'm not trying to paint Clearsight in a villainous light or anything. I just think that the events of Darkstalker Legends were incredibly hard on her, and as a young dragon with few allies and fewer life experiences, she did the only thing that she could think of to save her tribe. Clearsight comes off as a deeply flawed dragon, thanks to an overlarge burden of power and self-claimed responsibility. I think that all things considered, her handling of the situation was pretty good. What do y'all think? Should Clearsight have done what she did? Do you think her solution or Kinkajuice was better? And what do you think about how her powers might have affected her psyche, especially when she was younger? Be sure to check out the description of this video to see my links as well as info about what programs I use and whatnot. Thanks so much for watching, and please have a wonderful day.